a medical facility, much like the one that opened this week in New York City at the Javitz Convention Center there. But here's one important difference between the facility in L.A. and the one in New York. The New York one, according to the federal government, will only be used for housing non-coronavirus patients. The governor of New York said he had asked for the Javitz Center to be set up in a way that it could house coronavirus patients. The federal government said no. That said, the L.A. Convention Center is a different story. L.A.'s Mayor Eric Garcetti said this week that their convention center medical build-out will be done in such a way that it may end up housing coronavirus patients, people who have symptoms that are not severe enough to require full hospitalization. We're seeing the same kind of planning in Detroit, Michigan. The convention center there being converted into a facility to care for up to 1,000 coronavirus patients. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers doing a lot of this work. They say that plans have already been drafted for a 3,000-bed coronavirus hospital in Chicago. The Chicago Convention Center would, again, house patients in varying degrees of illness. And yet, in New York City, the epicenter of the American outbreak, in New York City, dealing with thousands of patients already overwhelming many New York hospitals, the Javitz Center, set up with federal help, isn't taking coronavirus patients explicitly. Now, tonight, a source familiar with the matter tells us that the Javitz Center in total has 10 beds, 10 patients, none of whom are coronavirus patients. We're also told that the USNS Comfort, the Navy hospital ship parked in New York Harbor, we're told that the Comfort tonight has fewer than 5 patients, again, none of whom are coronavirus patients. The defense secretary said today in Washington that that could change, that if called upon, that hospital ship would be able and willing to take people with coronavirus. But so far, it's not. A source familiar with the situation tells us, quote, the reason for that is because the federal government is not allowing coronavirus patients to be admitted to Javitz or the Comfort. The hospitals and state and local governments are ready to go, but it is the federal government that thus far has been saying no. All this makes you wonder, is New York City getting the help it needs? New York City obviously is getting a bunch of help, but is it getting the right kind of help? And if they're asking for these federally built facilities and federally floated facilities to be coronavirus facilities, why